What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seattle Seahawks news, rumors, and updates. I'm Levi, and let's get into it, guys. There's some interesting things to talk about today. First off, I want to touch on the Seahawks players reacting to flag football news regarding the Olympics. In particular, Jackson Smith-Njigba and Tariq Woolen, they gave a really interesting interview talking about how both of them might want to try out for the team and just kind of talking about the implications of that. Plus, Mike Macdonald outlines his new defensive vision for the team, and we discuss, could new tight end Elijah Arroyo, could he also kind of fit in as a receiver? We discuss all that and more right here today on Seahawks Now. Before we begin, make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe to the channel for more content so that you don't miss another breaking news, latest rumors, updates, whatever we're talking about, you don't want to miss it. It's all things Seattle Seahawks right here. So let's get into it, guys. JSN and Tariq Woolen, they discussed their Olympic hopes in a recent interview written by Ari Horton for NFL.com. On Tuesday, the NFL did allow NFL players to participate in the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympic Games in flag football. Only one guy can play per team. A handful of current players on the Seahawks have played flag football in the Pro Bowl games. So last year, Jackson Smith-Njigba, he was playing flag football. He said he's been playing 7-on-7 flag football basically his whole life up until college, and then he got to do it again in the Pro Bowl. He said he's been asking around the league and asking the NFL Players Association, asking the front office if it was going to happen, and so he's very happy to hear that NFL players are going to be allowed in the Olympics. The league did pass that resolution. Meanwhile, cornerback Tariq Woolen, he played a receiver and cornerback in college, and he said playing in the Olympics has been a dream for him since he was young. This is according to Tariq Woolen. Let me pull up the exact quote. He says, "I think it's pretty cool because the game of football is growing, and I just think that as a kid, being in the Olympics is something I always wanted to do. Now the sport of football, being able to be in there, gives a lot of people the chance of fulfilling that dream of being in the Olympics." He says it's the first ever Olympics where you can play football, so I would love to do it just because it's making history as well. So Tariq Woolen, yeah, he is clearly interested in going into the Olympics, and yeah, that'd be fun to see. I mean, obviously every team can have up to one player in the Olympics. I think it'd be pretty sick to see a member of the Seahawks as part of that list. I would love to see a Seahawk included on the Olympic flag football roster. It would make it, I think, a much more enjoyable viewing experience for me as a Seahawk fan. Be cool. Woolen would have an advantage. You know, he's played cornerback. He's got really, he's also played receiver. He's big. He's fast. And the thing about flag football is it really is a speed game. I mean, flag football, more so than regular football, it's less about physicality. It's more just about speed and agility. And Tariq Woolen has that, so that's good for him. With only one player allowed to try out, Tariq Woolen and Smith-Njigba, they both agreed that if anybody besides them, Devon Witherspoon would have a good shot to make the team. Woolen says, other than myself, I'd have to say Spoon. He says, I feel like it's hard because with flag football, I choose a lot of, and here it is again, he says, I choose a lot of speed players. He says, according to Smith-Njigba, he says, I definitely would go out there, but if I had to pick one, probably Witherspoon. I think he's our best DB on the team, and his effort is unmatched, and he would bring energy on and off the field. Witherspoon actually said he agreed. He says, I'm for sure going with Little Spoon. Little Spoon got to be out there. A couple more guys, but I can't speak for everybody. I want to speak for me. And with the news of allowing NFL players to try out, this is what Jackson Smith-Njigba says would be his dream team. He says he would take C.J. Stroud at quarterback. He would take himself at receiver. He would take Garrett Wilson at receiver, Justin Jefferson, and Tyreek Hill. That does sound like a pretty good dream team if I'm being honest. Although who knows if Tyreek Hill will be at that level 3 years from now. I don't know. All right, guys, I want to talk about Mike Macdonald revealing his new defensive vision for the Seattle Seahawks. He says he has a slightly different approach this year. This is according to Seattle Seahawks on Sports Illustrated. They write, Mike Macdonald's work is far from complete. He's refining his defensive scheme, and this is what he has to say. He reportedly told former quarterback Kurt Benkert that he wishes he would have dialed up more blitzes last season, and he says he wants to turn up the heat in 2025. So last year, the Seahawks, they blitzed on 23.6% of plays. That was tied for the 17th most in the league, so pretty much completely league average. They blitzed about the same amount as any other team. That's actually a higher blitz rate than he did with the Ravens. The Ravens in 2023, they only blitzed 21.9% of the time, and in 2022, it was even lower at 21.3% of the time. New defensive coordinator Aiden Dirty, who previously served as a Dallas Cowboys defensive line coach, he was a bit more blitz heavy, but even still never in the top 10. Last year, the Cowboys blitzed 28% of the time, which was 13th. In 2022, they blitzed 25.6% of the time, which was also 13th. So yeah, and he wasn't the defensive coordinator, right? He was just the defensive line coach. That does mean he works very closely with the edge rushers who are on the line. The good news for the Seahawks is that they had 45 sacks, which was the 8th most in the league, even though they only blitzed the 17th most in the league. So that means that they were better at getting sacks than the average team. Every single team they had more sacks than them, blitzed at a higher rate besides Baltimore. So that's interesting again. The Baltimore blitzed less but got more sacks. So they continued to have a really good pass rush even without Mike McDonald there. But yeah, I see what Mike McDonald's getting at. He wants to be aggressive on defense, and we do. I mean, if you look at the strategy, some of the guys we didn't bring in DeMarcus Lawrence not to use him as a pass rusher. I mean, that's what he's best at. That's what he's going to be there for. He's going to rush the quarterback, and guys like Riley Mills as well from Notre Dame. We brought in these guys who are going to be there and going to be able to rush the quarterback and bring the heat, like Mike McDonald says. They really are trying to turn up the heat this year. I'm all for it, and with that being said, I've talked about wanting to bring in an elite pass rusher. I've mentioned Trey Hendrickson a lot. I hope that we do. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that off, but I would love to see, an elite pass rusher in Seattle, maybe in the draft. Maybe we already have him, but maybe that is Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, but I don't know. Who knows who it will be. The Seahawks, I do think, it would be great to have a little more consistency from some of our edge rushers. It feels like we have a really good defensive line, but none of them really broke out as a sack machine. And I think that's the kind of the next level that can really elevate that defense. All right, guys, one more thing to talk about today. Could Seattle Seahawks' new rookie tight end Elijah Arroyo, could he also play receiver? That's what one Seattle Seahawks analyst believes. Brock Heward from Brock and Salk on 710 Sports AM. He believes that Elijah Arroyo could actually be an X-receiver. He says, I don't know on base downs on between the 20s if you're looking at a guy that's really going to be split out there. It's hard. You face the top corners when you're playing on the outside. You face a 12th man that is the sideline, and these corners know how to leverage and use their body and use that extra defender out there. So you need elite speed to turn those guys, to challenge those guys. If you don't threaten that, you can run by the corners in this league, the premier guys. It's really, really difficult. But in the red zone, he says maybe we could use him as an X receiver in the red zone. He says if you get inside the 20 and inside the 15 where there's less space, where you can really just kind of frame up and it's more important about space than it is speed, then he says we're talking about a different animal. So I do kind of understand what he's saying. He's saying, look, we don't need to use him as a receiver all the time, but when you guys are at the 15-yard line in the red zone, line him up on the outside and just let him go create space. He doesn't have to beat a receiver. He just has to get into the end zone and get open. And when you're 6'5", getting open is not as hard because you'd think, you could make some nice contested catches. I mean, he's 6'5", 254 pounds. Not saying that he's not fast, but yes, there are elite cornerbacks who are going to be faster than him, right? Like the best cornerbacks in the league are going to be faster than Elijah Arroyo. That doesn't mean he can't be good. Last year in college with Miami, he had 35 catches for 590 yards and 7 touchdowns. He went for 16.9 yards per catch, which was the most among all tight ends. So yeah, he did have a really good season just last year with Miami. He was probably the best receiving tight end, maybe the best, I'm not going to say probably. He was one of the best receiving tight ends in all of college football, and I do think he can really, make a huge impact on the Seahawks offense. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up for today. Again, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more future content. As always, until next time, I'll see you tomorrow, and as always, go Seahawks.